Hello and welcome to another episode of Corncast. I'm Jordan Hall.
I'm Josh Flavin, and this time we're talking about a con that just happened over here, Krampus Con. We're going to talk about other cons, and we're going to talk about some tabletop games.
So we decided to go this weekend over to Krampus Con, which is a local mini-con put on by a game store, ABU Games, which is local here to our hometown. And we mostly went just to show, support. We like to try to support those kind of events here in town so that those events will hopefully grow, and then we'll have great cons to go to.
Great con. The Great Con.
Yes, and so we decided to have a look around. And what was your impression of it?
In all honesty, it wasn't bad. I was actually expecting a whole lot worse. I figured it'd be, sad. Super sad.
I wasn't necessarily expecting worse. I was expecting less. There was a lot more there than I had anticipated. Like you said, I figured they'd probably just, strip their gaming area and have it all in there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. Just where they demo games and where they have all their tabletop games played.
But they actually didn't even empty that room at all. They left it set up. There were people in there actively playing games, and they opened up the rest of their facility, which we had never seen before. We determined that it probably used to be like a YMCA or something like that.
Some sort of community center because they had a big old locker room for their bathroom.
Yeah, the vendor floor, I guess you could call it, where they had all sorts of different local artists and comic book collectors and stores, and there was people there selling figurines and all sorts of stuff. They were all in this gym. It looked like a basketball court pretty much.
Yeah, probably. I didn't really pay attention, but yeah, now that you mention it, it did kind of seem like that.
But there was.
The other. I don't know what the other one was back in the far.
It was a smaller gym. It had another basketball hoop in it. And stuff,
I didn't pay attention. That was sadder over in that area. That's what I expected was that back area. I figured that was going to be the entire con.
I actually don't even know what that back area had in it. I took one look in there, and it looked like it was like organizations and stuff.
Yeah.
I know that the chief sponsor of the event was a group called the Fangirls Guild, and I think that
they were up front.
Were they up front?
They were the ones that greeted us.
Well, I knew they were, but I thought they had a booth in the back.
They might have had another booth too, but yeah, they had two tables up front. But yeah, I actually, for the most part, they had a lot of artwork, which is cool. It wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, there was definitely some talented artists there.
But I feel like for this, for me personally, they brought in Time Zone Toys, and they brought in a couple comics places. It was stuff that I could probably get here at any time. I just couldn't get it all in one place. So it wasn't anything that was super I need to go to this. I still will, even if they have one next year, because I kind of want to see if it evolves at all. But
yeah, and like you said, it was mostly local businesses. Mm-hmm. But I guess what I would say about that is we're so involved in that anyway. We seek those places out actively.
Yeah.
That we knew Time Zone Toys, and we knew a few of the different vendors there already, and we knew where their permanent locations were. But I suppose it's good exposure anyway for them.
Oh, yeah.
For people that don't necessarily, that go to ABU Games to play Magic, but don't necessarily branch out much more than that.
Excuse me. But Time Zone Toys, I only recently learned about them maybe a couple months ago. So, if this would have been a thing I went to anyway, I could have easily walked past their booth and been like, hey, what's this?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sure that it's beneficial for them to do that anyway. Even though people like us already knew about it, and we were talking about they handed out a program at the gate or whatever when you came into the con, and they had all sorts of guest speakers and a few panel type things.
I think it was 5-ish panels. Something like that.
It was 8 or something.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, there was quite a few, but they were all of them exclusively. There wasn't a single one that was not about.
That's not true. You're going to say about cosplay?
Yeah.
Because they had the one that was the paranormal group.
Oh, that's right. That paranormal group that,
that was the last one of the night.
I forgot the name of.
Yeah, I don't remember
of that group. They were there. They're apparently a TAPS affiliate.
Yeah. I did notice that.
Which, way back in the day, excuse me, when I was looking into such organizations, I learned that it's apparently not very hard to become a TAPS affiliate.
Doesn't surprise me.
You basically just like fill out like a form and send it out, and TAPS is all like, yeah, I guess you can put our name on stuff now.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But yeah, they had a booth there with all of their various paranormal investigation equipment and whatnot.
Yeah, but I'd say that's probably the biggest bummer for me was the panels.
Yeah, for sure.
If they would have had something more than just like cosplay and then that, I probably would have come around. I mean, you were talking about doing stuff where it's like talking about DMing and stuff like that. I mean, you could have had a tabletop game one. You could have had a bunch of stuff that I feel like they kind of fell short on, but
yeah, they really the panels. I mean, we've been to a larger con.
Well, I guess technically there are two different ones. They're organized by the same people.
Yeah. I mean, we're not super experienced con goers by any means, but we have been to Salt Lake City Comic Con, which was a fairly large con. So we have the gist of how a con should be and everything. And I'm not saying that, you know, this con should measure up to Salt Lake City Comic Con, obviously. But when you look at some of the smaller examples of what a thing like Salt Lake City Comic Con does, where they have the small room panels and stuff that aren't celebrity led and things like that, where it's just authors talking about world building and things like that, that could easily be done at a scale like Krampus Con was.
Oh yeah, easily.
And excuse me. Yeah, I think that could be accomplished with local authors, which they had a local publishing company there. So I don't know why they couldn't have had a few of those authors come in and talk about the books that they were selling at that booth. You know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not gonna say if, I'm pretty sure they'll do this again because it looked like it was a pretty good hit for ABU, especially. Like there was a ton of people walking around in there,
and there weren't a lot in the gaming room, which actually I think is good because the parking lot was full. The place was completely full, but they weren't all there just playing Magic or something like that. You know, they were actively in participating in the con, and so
or shopping at ABU.
Or shopping at ABU. There was a ton of people shopping there. That's more than I, of course, have ever seen, which makes sense. But
yeah, I mean, like that's the whole thing. Like people often associate cons with like you have to get celebrities, which sure, I'm not gonna lie. When we went to Salt Lake Comic Con, the celebrity panels were most of the best ones that I went to. Then again, I didn't go to a ton of them anyway. But I don't feel like you need to do that to actually have an interesting panel.
No. I mean, when I went to Salt Lake Comic Con, I mean, the celebrity panels were interesting, but I got more... I was more interested in the author panels and things like that. Which, I mean, I guess the authors that I went and saw are kind of like celebrity authors, but they're not celebrities. Like, Jim Butcher is not a celebrity in the same way that, like, Michael Rooker is a celebrity.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different kind of celebrity. And so you don't have to be a celebrity to be a decent author by any means. And so come talk about your books at a small con. I think that's a great spot for it.
I do too, yeah. I mean, that's the exact kind of people that are going to be going to that kind of thing.
And that's how any con starts.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, this isn't really like the first con that's been in Boise. I mean, it's, I guess, technically the third of the, like, I won't say bigger, but actually the cons that they tried to have, they had...
well, they had the anime convention, which usually had a pretty big turnout.
That one, but that only started recently. That wasn't...
I think they've done it twice now.
Twice? Okay.
Yeah.
So that would make 4 then, because I'm thinking of...
Treasure Valley Comic Con?
No, the one before that when it was Tree City Comic Con. The one where Nicholas Brendan...
Oh, had his little incident?
Went to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that was called Tree City Comic Con, which did have... I mean, I won't say great celebrities, but they had people that I recognized,
Like Nicholas Brennan.
like Nicholas Brennan. Lou Ferrigno canceled, but I probably would have gone to it at that point if
Lou
he was
Ferrigno had
actually
been
there.
Yeah. For those wondering, Nicholas Brennan played Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You should know that.
Well,
Jeez.
you can never assume.
Now I'm going to sip loudly.
You know what happens when you assume.
Oh man, I'm pretty much out of drink. There we go. Anyway.
Did you need some of mine? I'm sure you'll love it.
No, I'm good. I got more down here. But yeah, so there was that one, which those I think out of what I remember, those are the two most notable celebrities. Obviously, Lou Ferrigno canceled. Then we had Treasure Valley Comic Con, which was bigger. They had, and I'm kind of ashamed I don't remember her name at the moment. The lady that played Lois Lane in the '70s movies came. Margaret. I think it's Margaret Kidder. She was there. One of the guys from The Flash was there. So I mean, they had names I recognized.
The Flash TV show?
The TV show, yes.
Okay.
So they had names I recognized. Again, it's not like a huge con that I would have been like, yeah, let's go to it. Which I really did want to go, but what we were doing.
There was something else going on that weekend. I don't remember what it was.
Or we were just too broke. One of the two.
We might have been too broke. That happens a lot.
Yeah, but then we got next year. We have Wizard World Comic Con,
yep.
the touring Comic Con coming here, which I'm pretty excited about, and we've already purchased tickets.
We will be there. We'll probably even do an episode about it,
if not more than one.
Yeah.
So depending on the scale, we might do 1 or 2 or even 3 if we go all 3 days.
They haven't announced any panels. They haven't announced any guests. We don't know anything yet about it, but we do have tickets. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more updated pretty soon.
Well, and I think they have 2 or 3 between. Right now they're doing New Orleans Comic Con or the Wizard World New Orleans, whatever it's called, which they have Stan Lee, David Tennant, Summer
Glau?
No. Well, they have her
Summer Glau too.
They have her too. No, David's. I know I'm butchering his name because I can't remember it off the top of my head.
What did he play?
He's in those vampire shows. I don't remember if it's True Blood or if it's the Vampire
Diaries.
I can't remember.
Both of which I think are now they're gone, right? I know
they're
True
both
Blood
done,
is.
Yeah, they're both done.
I just started watching True Blood.
Ian Somerhalder, that's what his name is. So he's going to be. Well, this is again New Orleans. Then Summer Glau. The other guy, Sean Mayer or Marr, I can't remember.
Sean Marr, the guy who played Simon.
Yep, in Firefly.
It's going to be a brother-sister reunion. That's adorable, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. So, I mean, they've got people, and I know in the past they've had people that I definitely want to see. I mean, obviously I want to see Stan Lee because he canceled it at the Comic-Con appearance that I went to, and I got sad all day.
Yep.
But then we got that's not up there anymore. We got the picture with Aquaman.
Mr. Jason Momoa.
It's in our hallway now.
Yeah, we have like a Hall of Fame growing in our.
It's like a Hall of Con.
Yeah, it is really.
Not to be confused with the Hall of Con. I peaked. I peaked like crazy.
You don't say.
Kind of like us. We peaked too early.
Did we? Did we ever peak? I don't think we peaked.
Oh, we've peaked.
Oh, okay.
That's what's sad. Because we've peaked already.
Well, one of my favorite con experiences from the Salt Lake City Comic Con was sitting down and demoing the game that I still can't pronounce the name of.
I think it's
Eschaton?
Something like that.
Eschaton? It's we demoed that at Salt Lake City Comic Con, and it was awesome.
It was really awesome.
It's a great game. I highly recommend picking it up. We should probably tell what the publisher is. It's a small publisher. They just kickstarted
an expansion. I think.
Yeah, they just kickstarted an expansion. I don't think the expansion's out yet, but I think they completed the. It's right there. Archon Games. And they just kickstarted the expansion. I think the Kickstarter is done for sure, but but the expansion is not yet out. But the core game itself is fantastic. We actually haven't played it since we've been back, unfortunately. But from the gameplay experience that we had at the con, it was awesome because we enjoy the games.
Oh yeah,
which is part of the reason why we decided to go to Krampus Con. Because it was hosted by one of our larger, probably safe to say the biggest game store.
I would say all about just because they have more than one store.
Yeah, they do have more than one store, but
I mean, I'm also not thinking all the warehouse stuff the ABU has.
Yeah, ABU has a lot of different games, but I think they do a lot of online retail. Weirdly,
yeah, they do.
But yeah, that's kind of one of the hobbies that we have is playing all of the different tabletop games. It's actually been only a recent thing where we've made it a kind of a serious hobby.
Yeah, it's serious. By that we mean like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, like we've spent a lot of money. It's Will Wheaton's fault mostly. I mean,
we already told him that though.
When I was we told Will Wheaton that. Yeah, we told him to his face that it was his fault.
He knows.
But
he laughed.
He talked to us for a few minutes about the different games we were playing. But I mean, I played games when I was a kid too. It wasn't like something that I immediately had a passion for, but I mean, I played the classics. And I enjoyed them, except Monopoly. I'm not a big Monopoly fan.
See, I'm a huge fan. The reason I don't like Monopoly is it goes on too long.
It just takes forever. But I mean, I played the classics, and we also had some kind of like different, like strange board games. When I was in like third grade, I was briefly like obsessed with the history of the Titanic and White Star Line. Which is a weird thing to be obsessed with when you're in third grade, by the way.
Yeah, most third graders aren't really into that.
Yeah, it's I'm a weird guy. But in any case, my parents somehow found a Titanic board game.
See, now that seems like it'd be pretty normal, but back then seems like it'd be kind of a stretch.
Yeah, but it's a full-on Titanic themed. You have to escape the sinking Titanic board game, which is super morbid if you think about it. Like, they're all like, we're going to take one of the most famous human tragedies ever and turn it into a board game. Of course, I guess that's no different than Axis and Allies or something like that. But yeah, I don't remember much about it. I think my parents still have it. I'll have to steal it from them at some point. Also, the movie Jumanji came out at some point.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah. And I think my parents still have the board game that movie spawned, which is actually a weirdly well-designed board game.
If you still have that, we really need that.
I'm pretty sure they still have it, yeah. And I'm sure it's complete. We took pretty good care of our board games, so... and that was a weirdly well-designed game.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fun to play, which is saying something from a game that was spawned purely because a movie came out.
Yeah, it's true.
And now we've come full circle because Jumanji the movie is coming out. Is it beginning of next year or is it still this year?
It's coming out this month sometime. I'm not 100% sure when.
Now it's a video game, but that's all right. I'm still probably going to watch it.
I'll watch it. I watched the preview when I was at I think it was when we were at Justice League?
Yeah, they previewed it there.
Yeah, that must have been when I saw it, because I don't think I had it for both that one and Thor when I watched it.
I hope they kind of stick to the spirit of the original Jumanji movie, which is actually one of my favorite childhood movies. I
haven't watched Jumanji in a long time.
It's a good movie, and it's not so much about the game itself as it is about the main character. So I hope that they kind of try to stick to the more character aspect than them just like doing funny antics and stuff. But from what I can tell from the trailer, that it doesn't seem to be.
But I mean, you want to draw people in even that haven't seen the original Jumanji.
Yeah, and that's true. And I think that this iteration is going to be a little more lighthearted. The original Jumanji movie is actually pretty dark.
Yeah.
There's like a hunter in there that like. His thing is he hunts people. That's what he doesn't hunt animals. He did that, and he was like, it's not challenging enough. The most dangerous animal is a person, and so that's what he hunts. And that's a pretty dark concept for like what was supposed to be kind of a kids movie. And of course, Robin Williams, who I mean, you can't beat that kind of a performance. But
it's true, man's gold. But I mean, yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, Jumanji was also one we played, but like you were saying, the classics, Clue. I still love Clue.
Clue's a great game.
But
I suck at it, but it's a great game.
But I won't say it's a spin-off, but one that, again, this is probably a lot of nostalgia just because it was what I played with my parents all the time. 221B Baker Street.
Haven't played it.
It's very similar to Clue, but kind of more in-depth. So yeah, I don't know why we haven't busted that out. I think you could. Well, it might be a 3-player game. That's probably why we don't have friends. But yeah, that's the one, and I actually have the one that my parents gave me. I kind of stole it because I'm like, yeah, we need to play this, and I did that like 6 months ago, if not more.
Well, we do actually have tabletop gamer friends. The problem is I keep hijacking them for D&D.
Yeah.
So
how about you? Yeah, because last time we played I guess technically we did one on Halloween, but the last time before that was.
Well, on Halloween we ended up playing Cards Against Humanity like half the night. So.
Yeah, you guys did. Me and Yeti just sat outside and made fun of everybody.
Yep, it was. That seems to keep happening. Is everybody ends up wanting to play Cards Against Humanity. We play hipster games now, I guess. I mean, they're not actually that obscure or anything, but they're more obscure than what most people think of when they think board games.
Well, and I mean, I own the base game and 3 of the expansions for Cards Against Humanity because it's a great game to play.
It's a party game.
Yeah, when you have a lot of people over. The problem is usually I've played it so much at this point where I'm just like, eh.
Yeah.
Like, even if I had newer expansions, I think I still wouldn't really... Like, maybe if it was a bunch of people I wanted to play with, maybe, but...
Well, it's not even really a game. It's just like making your friends laugh at you.
Pretty much.
It's, which I'm not trying to disparage Cards Against Humanity.
I get laughed at enough, so, you know, whatever.
Yeah, but, you know, we do have all of these more complex, more, like, intensive games, I guess.
To kind of elaborate, we have a game just like poker, but it's not poker.
No, because it's Firefly licensed.
It's Tall Card.
Gotta have Tall Card from Firefly. Plums are tall.
They are.
But we have lots of, like, one of the ones we've played the most, and still one of my favorites is Last Night on Earth. It's a great game.
It really is, and I feel like, I mean, we've really only done, I think we've done 2 game modes out of it.
Yeah, and there's like 5 just in the base game. Yeah.
And we were discussing this when we were actually at KrampusCon. I just kind of feel like I want more of just the characters. I don't want to buy the whole expansion because, we've played, 2. Get the gas and get out of there.
2 scenarios, yeah.
Yeah, and then the
basic one.
Kill zombies.
Die zombies die.
Yep.
And it's kind of a weird hybrid game. It's a cooperative game, technically.
Well, it is and it isn't. So you can play it as a cooperative game, but you technically still need to have a versus part too.
Yeah, somebody has to play.
So depending on
the zombies.
Depending on how many people you have, it's cooperative and versus game. Because, I mean, I guess if you and I wanted to play it, we could do a cooperative game where we both played zombies and we both played heroes. Yeah. We could do that.
That'd actually be kind of interesting. We should try that sometime just to see how it plays out.
Yeah. But you'd have to look at it as like, we've got to just play like we want to win for both sides. Because it would actually probably be a weirdly hard game at that point.
I guess we should mention that, like, a lot of our games we've stolen shamelessly from Will Wheaton's YouTube series Tabletop.
Yeah.
A lot of ours, that's kind of where we really got into it, and it was because the reason I found Tabletop on YouTube is because somebody had mentioned to me that Will Wheaton was a D&D guy, that he played D&D, and that he did it at some point on the internet, and I wanted to see Will Wheaton play D&D, and so I searched Will Wheaton Dungeons and Dragons on YouTube, and funnily enough, he has never played actual Dungeons and Dragons on his own show ever
On tabletop.
On tabletop.
Yeah.
And so, but it did bring tabletop up, and I started watching that. And a lot of the games looked really fun. And I think the very first episode I saw had me hooked on the show because it was him. It was Forbidden Desert, and it was him with Alan Tudyk and who else was in that episode?
I think Felicia
Day was, but then there was somebody else.
I can't remember.
But yeah, it was a great episode because they're all hilarious together, and they lost terribly.
Which is kind of what happens with that game.
Yeah, well, both Forbidden Desert and Forbidden Island, which are by the same people and basically have the same concept.
It's just like the next... It's like Forbidden Island 2 or
Forbidden Desert 2, whichever came first, I don't know. But yeah, and so then I started watching, well, both of us started watching the rest of the tabletop series. And so we actually wrote down like games that seemed interesting to us.
Yeah, we gave them like 5 stars to 2 or to 1 star, depending on how
interested we were. And so a lot of the games that we've bought were a direct result of seeing them played on tabletop. However, we have a few now that we bought because we like the manufacturers.
Yeah, Days of Wonder. I really dig those games, but again, we saw 2 of those games on tabletop. 2 of the games.
Well, and that's how it started. But now we bought them because we like Days of Wonder as a game manufacturer. They do Ticket to Ride, which is probably their. I think it's safe to say that's their flagship. Their flagship, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean they've done so many Ticket to Rides at this point.
Yeah, and so they did Ticket to Ride, Pirates Cove, Small World, Shadows over Camelot.
Memoir 44.
Yeah, which is kind of, I think, similar to Axis and Allies, but not.
It's just a 2-player game, though.
Yeah, but they're a great manufacturer, and so we ended up buying a bunch from them just because we like them. I think. Well, and Red Dragon Inn is probably my second favorite game on the shelf, and that one was not. I don't think they played that on tabletop. They might have at this point, but not when we were watching it.
Where did we hear
I heard about it from Marco.
Oh, that's right.
Our D&D friend Marco, who hangs out at a game shop with a bunch of buddies, and they introduced it to him, and he told me about it, and I was like, well, this sounds fun. And it is. It's great, and it's super easy to learn.
It really is, yeah.
There's a lot of games that we could recommend tons of games, but
we could go on all day about games, and I'm sure we're gonna go back into games in the future quite often because I know there's a Batman Kickstarter coming out from Monolith. Yep. I'm definitely wanting that.
The Fallout tabletop game just came out like a couple days ago, I think, actually.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was fairly recent. I know that. Yeah, that was our experience at Krampus Con and tabletop games.
Play more games. Oh wait, is that trademarked?
Probably, but we're not getting paid, so he can't sue. He could try. But now we've got some nerd news coming up, and we've got Should You Subscribe, the comics edition.
This is Nerd News Nightly. Only, it's not really nightly. It's more like monthly. Nerd News Monthly. It's not as good.
Thank you for tuning in to Nerd News Nightly. This is the month of November, and we're going to talk about all the news from geek and nerddom. Injustice 2 announced some new DLC, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The rumors that we're going to be Constantine or is going to be Rorschach or even Spawn. I know Spawn was the big one. But ended up being the Turtles. And you got Enchantress and Adam are joining him. They also joined the regular DLC of Black Manta, Raiden from Mortal Kombat, and Hellboy.
I'd rather have Constantine. In other news, Fox debuted the poster for and trailer, red band trailer, very red band trailer for Deadpool 2, which I laughed wholeheartedly at. It was a Bob Ross parody, in which Deadpool himself dresses up as the famous television painter and paints himself some happy little trees. And it was awesome and obscene. Go find it if you're an adult.
Yeah, don't. If you're a kid, don't listen to that.
Yeah, it's naughty.
20th Century Fox is looking to sell their movie rights. According to the stories, that they're going to keep the news and sports sections, but they're looking to sell all of movie and TV. And who's looking to buy? Disney, Sony, and Comcast are the two other ones. But Disney's the big one, and I've heard that they're going back to negotiations with, which would mean that all of Marvel would be back in the hands of Disney. So X-Men, Fantastic Four, and I think those are the two major ones that are with Fox would go back to Disney and have all of them. The only problem is, and Ryan Reynolds kind of brought that up with Deadpool, is what's Disney going to do with the rated R superhero movies?
Could be interesting for sure. We also have a live-action Star Wars series announced, and also I think this corresponds with that directly, right? That Disney is also launching its own streaming service, in which you can find, I'm sure, just about all of their existing content, as well as I'm sure they're going to do some original content and whatnot to draw people in.
Which I think is what the series is for.
Yeah. And then also another Star Wars trilogy is announced after the end of the Skywalker saga as it is. As of right now, we don't know much of what it's going to be about. Actually, we don't know anything about what it's going to be about, but we do know that the writer of The Last Jedi, what was his name? Rian Johnson is going to be, I guess, heading up the writing team for that particular trilogy. And that's
it on that one.
Yeah.
Then for you video game fans, we've got Hitman coming to Hulu. The TV series is going to be made by the creator of John Wick.
Which, I mean, that's just perfect.
I know. Yeah, Derek Kolstad is writing the pilot episode, which I want to say should be coming out probably in 2019 as well. I don't think it's coming out next year, but got that coming to Hulu.
And we also have another big series announcement here that Amazon is coming up with. They're developing a live-action television series for their Prime service, Lord of the Rings, which we briefly touched on in the past, but they paid $250 million to the Tolkien estate to develop this project. That's insane. That is... I don't know how much the movies cost when they were made.
Not nearly as much.
Yeah, I can't imagine they were $250 million. It takes place before the Fellowship of the Ring, so we could see storylines such as Strider, Aragorn's hunt for Gollum, or perhaps some of what Gandalf was doing in Minas Tirith at the time that Frodo was living an idyllic life in the Shire. And there's supposed to be 5 seasons of that, which I'm excited for a long-form iteration of that story, but I could see how others might find it a little bit tedious.
But see, it's also between books, so I feel like you got a lot more to work with. You can kind of make up your own
A little
thing.
bit of storylines to mine. Another interesting news related to that, Christopher Tolkien, who's, I think in his 90s now.
He's up there.
Just relinquished control of the Tolkien estate for the first time, which is a very lucrative estate, as you might imagine. And so it'll be interesting to see what sort of things come of that particular course of action. He did not sell, to clarify, he did not sell the Tolkien estate, but he is no longer in control of the estate.
I mean, he got his $250 million and...
I don't know what a 94-year-old man needs $250 million for, but...
all sorts of
Well,
goodness.
I mean, he's got grandkids himself, so I guess he's just making sure they're going to stay filthy rich.
And now, my favorite news, because it made me super happy inside. The Infinity War trailer and poster were revealed. The poster was revealed by Spider-Man Tom Holland on, I believe it was Twitter. I can't remember if
It was probably Twitter. It's always Twitter.
Something like that.
Or Instagram.
Or like live Facebook. It was on a video. But it looks like pretty much any poster. But then the trailer came out, I want to say the day after, a couple days after. And it was enormously epic and made me happy inside. But it also got the record for most trailer views within the first 24 hours, which I want to say was like 230 million views in the first 24 hours.
Pretty good.
Which
Pretty
says
good.
something about that movie. It's going to be a lot of people going to that movie, and Disney's going to make a ton of money.
Well, and I guess from what I gleaned from just following various social media outlets and whatnot, the character modeling for Thanos caused some controversy.
It did, yeah, because I know he's changed hues of purple.
Well, and I
over
guess
the years.
and he's not wearing the cool Thanos crown thing, and so there was people like comparing him to the characters, the California Raisins, and all sorts of
the guy from Pawn Stars.
Oh yeah, I liked that one. That was pretty funny.
But I mean, they only showed, I want to say, maybe 2 or 3 clips of Thanos. So I mean, that's not to say that he won't ever have that in this movie. It's just they didn't show any of that.
Well,
so,
it personally didn't bother me. So
it didn't bother me either. But I'm not.
People always got to find something to complain about.
Exactly. you can't just be happy with what you get. You gotta get sad or mad about something.
In this case, Thanos' bald head.
His bald head and his wrinkly chin. But that is November News Nightly. And if you get more alliteration than that, you're faking it. November Nerd News Nightly.
Yeah, but you barely said it.
I know, I said nerd.
November Nerd News Nightly.
Should you subscribe?
All right, welcome to our first ever Should You Subscribe segment. Today we're going to be talking about, what was it? Comixology and Marvel Unlimited.
Comics subscription services.
Digital comic subscription services.
What he said. I'm going to try and... I'm just going to undo that and not screw my bottle because it's going to make a lot of noise.
Did you want to just do the whole thing over again?
You know, that's probably a good idea. That way I'll have this open too so you don't see the Apple logo.
There you go. Let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
All right, welcome to our first ever Should You Subscribe segment. This time we're going to be talking about Comixology Unlimited and Marvel Unlimited.
So, usually what we're going to end up doing in this segment is talking about just one subscription service and, you know, should you subscribe to it. But this time I felt like we're not going to do a Comixology one and a Marvel Unlimited one. We might as well just combine them. And I'm kind of figuring it's like, should you subscribe to which one would be better fit for you?
To be clear, these are digital comic subscription services.
Yeah. So,
and I believe Comixology is through Amazon, yeah?
Oh, well, Amazon owns Comixology, but technically it's still a separate entity.
But can you use your Amazon account to subscribe?
I don't know. I think so, but it uses Amazon Pay. So I had a whole thing where they're having this giant, sale for comics, DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Mainly, I'm a DC guy. So I was looking for... I was telling you already today that they had a bunch of good sales on there, and they had like $5 for a bunch of different comics, or graphic novels, or collections, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So, basically, I was looking through that, and I found a bunch of different ones. I found, like, Kevin Smith's Green Arrow. I'm going to move that so I don't... Oh, no, that's just me. Okay. I found Kevin Smith's Green Arrow was on there for $5. The Flashpoint Batman story was on there for $5. I found a bunch of them.
This was a holiday sale, by the way.
Yeah, holiday sale. So, they're not usually...
They're not always that price, but
yeah,
for now.
And this isn't really going into... this is just kind of explaining the Comixology thing compared to Amazon. It's just, So basically, I was trying to buy a bunch of comics, and I wanted to use my PayPal account to actually buy these, but through Amazon Pay, you can't get them. So they were like, oh, if you want to buy things for Comixology, you just buy it on Amazon.com for your Kindle and Comixology, and then boom, you use Amazon that way. Problem is, everything was more expensive on Amazon.
Okay.
Everything. Does
that reflect on Comixology, though, as a service?
No. I mean, it does in a way, but it's my just kind of pet peeve, just because I'm someone who really likes to use my PayPal.
I do like PayPal. I use it for just about everything.
So I mean, it's kind of a me thing that was.
I mean, all your information is already on PayPal, so it makes it easier because we all know what a pain it is to always be entering your billing information.
Which apparently I lost my little save that I had for this whole segment, so I'm gonna wing it. But yeah, the reason I wanted to use PayPal Credit, which you can't use on Amazon Pay, and if I could have bought an Amazon gift card, but it was more expensive. Anyway, that's a long story for nothing that has to do with these apps. So basically, Marvel Unlimited, as you can kind of guess, is Marvel Comics. Anything you want that's available. Obviously, they're putting more and more on there every day.
It's actually a service I've used as well, even though I'm not really a comics guy. I started using it after the Deadpool movie came out to read the Deadpool comics. And what limited experience I had of it, I enjoyed it. It was handy. I also read most of the Civil War comic run through it. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't worth it to me just because I don't read that many comics, but for that particular instance, it was great.
Yeah, and I actually really do. I really like Marvel Unlimited, and it's got a giant catalog. I want to say it's something like 10,000 comics or something, and going from there. They have a ton of stuff. They have, like you were saying, Civil War. They have a bunch of the Deadpool stuff. X-Men.
Dead Presidents. The Deadpool Dead Presidents run alone is worth, getting unlimited for.
Well, they do have, it's the free month, too, that you get. I believe either one of them, Comixology and Marvel Unlimited, actually have a free month but when you subscribe. But, yeah, you have X-Men comics, the Spider-Man comics. You have pretty much anything. If you want a Marvel character, it's in there. What's kind of nice about Marvel Unlimited is I want to say they're a couple months behind on their newer stuff, and they actually have, new comics that are actually running right now. Which is something that Comixology doesn't have much of, but I'll get into that when I talk about them. But I found when using the apps are very similar, at least on my tablet, my iPad. But the thing I found about them is Marvel Unlimited, when you go through the actual, what is it? What do you want to call that? The view where it goes from
the reader screen, basically.
The reader view, basically. So you can either do it where you're reading a full page at a time, or you go where it puts little segments at a time, where it'll actually show, the talking bubbles or the narration, and then it'll go to the giant.
Yeah, usually it does it frame by frame, unless it's a big frame, and then it'll cut the frame into pieces as it goes.
Well, even then. It might cut back out at the very end to show you
the whole frame, which is very cool.
But what I've noticed with Marvel Unlimited is a lot of it is very choppy, which I'm not gonna lie. When I was trying both of these out, and I had Marvel Unlimited back when you did too. This is the first time I've tried Comixology, but when I was trying both of them out, you would think that Civil War would be the exact same digital comic both ways. But it's not.
Formatted differently.
They're both formatted differently, and the transitions between each frame is a lot better on Comixology as compared to Marvel. Now, that's a small pet peeve of mine, just because I like the kind of transitions where it moves from frame to frame rather than a quick chops. That's just a personal preference.
So wait, Comixology has the smooth
It's the smooth transitions between everything.
I don't remember if because I read V for Vendetta on Comixology before Comixology was owned by Amazon. And I don't remember it being that kind of smooth. I thought it was just a quick move over like Marvel Unlimited is.
Which, I mean, it might be for certain comics, but since they've, been bought by Amazon and all that, they've gotten a whole lot bigger. Like, I mean, for digital comics, this is what's so nice about Comixology is that's where I've been buying my comics digitally anyway for the longest time. And what's nice is even before they did the subscription service, Marvel actually, if you buy a Marvel comic printed, it comes with a digital code to get a digital copy of that comic, which is nice.
Pretty nice. Yeah.
Because
does DC do that too? No?
No. Which DC doesn't have. I'll get into that later. DC's kind of behind on digital comics, but so that's always kind of nice. So in my collection is pretty much every Marvel comic I've ever bought is on my Comixology account, which is nice. And then I've purchased graphic novels here and there. But where was I going with this?
I'm not sure.
I was going somewhere. Something about Marvel. Oh yeah, I think that was just my point.
We were talking about the transitions, the different how Marvel does the choppy kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I wasn't getting into that apparently. I was just moving on, but I thought I was getting into something better. So yeah, the transition. That's a pet peeve thing for me. I'm starting to be a bigger Marvel fan than I was even 2 years ago. It really started in the last year and a half ish. Actually, pretty much since Guardians of the Galaxy. No, I wouldn't say 2.
That wasn't that long ago. So
I would say when the first Guardians of the Galaxy came on Blu-ray was really when I started getting into Marvel a whole lot more.
Guardians of the Galaxy was the one that did it, huh? That's interesting.
Well, I watched Iron Man when it came out, and I loved Iron Man. That's a phenomenal movie, still is to this day. Iron Man 2 I watched again in the theater. Not as great. But I watched Thor later on when it was on DVD. I didn't really watch any of the Captain America ones anytime in the theater or anything like that. But I didn't even watch Guardians of the Galaxy in the theater. I waited until that was on Blu-ray, and then I watched it then.
I saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy in the theater, and I don't remember why. It wasn't like I was super excited to see it, but for some reason the opportunity arose and I went and saw it. It was good.
Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much when I've started getting more and more into Marvel, and now I've gotten into the Captain America movies a lot. I really like those movies. Anyway, my whole point is it's gotten me more into actually watching or reading Marvel comics. And a lot of it was Deadpool. I remember when you were reading the Deadpool comics and you were telling me, hey, you should probably read these.
They're pretty great.
I was like, yeah, we might as well try it. I ain't tried them. Because I was actually... Funny story. I was hugely against Deadpool just in general when... when I won't say when it first came out because Deadpool's been around since the 90s. But before the movie was even announced, I went to a Salt Lake Comic Con in 2015 with my ex, and we went down there, and there was pretty much everyone was dressed as Deadpool. We saw a group of people that was like 30 Deadpools, and I was just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And even as the trailers for the Deadpool movie came out, I was just like, I'll probably go watch it. And then when I watched it, the first, not even 5 minutes, probably 30 seconds of that intro, I was sold. I was like, yep, this movie's going to be amazing.
And it is magnificent.
Yep.
And the second one, I hope, remains true to that magnificence.
Judging from the trailer, I'm pretty excited for that. But anyway, I feel like I'm rambling right now. I need to be talking about comics. So, Comixology versus Marvel, I like the interface of Comixology a whole lot better. What I don't like about Comixology is it doesn't have nearly as many comics on there as the Marvel Comics Unlimited. Now, if you're a huge Marvel guy, obviously you should definitely subscribe to Marvel Unlimited. You didn't need me to tell you that because they have everything you could ever want to read.
Pretty much anything worth reading.
Yeah. Now, Comixology has just recently got Marvel, and they've got the big storylines. They've got Civil War. They've even got like the Dead Presidents, Marvel, or Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Some of the X-Men.
Sorry, I was about to ramble again. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe is another one I've read. In my opinion, not a good storyline.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read it, but
it's
not funny. It's not Deadpool. It's just Deadpool killing the Marvel Universe, which I guess if that's something you want to see, there's no story. It's no storyline.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But, yeah, so I mean, they've got some of the bigger storylines of Marvel in there, but it's obviously not as huge, and it never will be because Marvel has their own service. So, in that regard, if you're only about Marvel Comics, do Marvel Unlimited. However, I've started reading. Born is actually it's a Punisher comic, but it's on Comixology Unlimited, and I've also started reading Hellboy, which I believe is Dark Horse. I could be wrong.
Here's the selling point for me, though. Do they have any of the Rebirth stuff on Comixology, and specifically the Constantine ones?
No. DC Comics is not on Comixology Unlimited. DC is completely oblivious to anything digital comics. They have their comics on Comixology, but they don't have their own service. They don't have anything on Comixology, which I'm guessing that what they're keeping them for their own service, which I heard that they were doing surveys about whether or not people would want to subscribe to a DC Comics digital comic service, which, yeah, I'd sign up in a heartbeat.
I'm not sure what the point of the survey is. Did Marvel do a survey to be like, hey, you guys want to...
I mean, Marvel started theirs a long time ago.
I know.
Marvel was the first. Marvel Unlimited came out before Comixology.
That's my point. So it's like, DC, come on.
Yeah. But, see, they think they're going to lose money on sales, which they will, but they will also get people like me who, I used to subscribe. I got a ton of the New 52. Once that stopped, I even got a bunch of Convergence stuff, even the Rebirth stuff. And by the end of it, I was spending a good $40 to $80 a month on comics because I'm buying,
$80 a month, really?
Yeah, because if I wanted to read The Flash, it was 2 issues a month. Wonder Woman was 2 issues a month. Batman was, I believe, 1. Superman was 2. So if I wanted to read a bunch of stories, or like the special storylines back when The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race came out, which is even more expensive comic because it's a special run. I want to say those are like $5 or $6 a piece. It just adds up. So if I'm wanting to read a bunch of different storylines, it's going to cost you... Yeah, it's going to cost you $40 to $80.
That's a good business model, I guess. The only full run of comics that I own is Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire, and I doubt I paid even close to that much money.
Well, it was Dark Empire.
I think it's Shadows of the Empire. I'd have to look. It's one of those, but yeah.
Yeah, but so me spending, and I've stopped because I can't afford $40 to $80 a month. But whereas even like having both of these services for Marvel and Comixology, you can do it. I wouldn't recommend it just because if you have Comixology, you have some of the Marvel stuff in there. But like Comixology is $5 a month. And like I said, I'm reading Punisher comics. I'm reading the Hellboy comics, which they have a ton of those on there now. You can read, I know they have some of the Buffy comics on there. They have... Let's see.
Did they have the Buffy comics? Did they have all of them or just some of them?
I didn't look in-depthly into it. I know they, if you look at the series, it says Buffy and it says Unlimited on.
Well, guess I know I'm gonna have to subscribe now.
They have like Dungeons and Dragons comics. They have. Yeah. They've got let's see. I want to say they have X-Files comics on there.
The X-Files.
Shadow.
This is weird that I know so much about this because I don't read comics. The X-Files comics are good. The Dungeons and Dragons comics that are not fan-created are terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that tends to happen. Their movies aren't very good either.
Oh, yeah, well, Well, that's another episode.
Yeah, let's not get into that right now. They have some of the Image comics, like they have what is that story called? Oh, hey, I did find it. Okay, so they have Image comics. They have Walking Dead, Saga, which is a huge series that's going on right now, and Cowl, which is one that I was into.
Saga, that's one I think that's based on a novel.
I'm not sure. I could not tell you.
What's it about?
I also could not tell you.
Oh man,
I read the first like comic. Dark Horse has Buffy, Serenity, and Firefly. Marvel, obviously, they have some of the Star Wars comics, some of the Civil War, big ones like that. Dynamite, they have James Bond comics. They have Army of Darkness comics. Yeah. The Shadow, which I was saying before. Or you can go with IDW, which has the Dungeons and Dragons, G.I. Joe, or, and this is the topper, CSI. Yeah.
What?
CSI.
Okay, well.
So, and I'm sorry, I did lie. It is $6 a month for Comixology, and they have 10,000 plus comics. Marvel, however, is $10 a month, so a little bit more pricey.
Oh, yeah.
For 20,000 plus comics.
But
So
just Marvel.
it's just Marvel. That's a lot of comics. So, if, like I said, if you're huge into the Marvel stuff, go for it. Do Marvel. However, me personally, I'm a guy who's actually starting to get into more stuff like Hellboy and Cowl and stuff like that, where it's not just superhero comics. Comixology is for me. Like I think that's gonna end here. My free trial is gonna end in like a week, and I'm just gonna let it go. I'm gonna keep reading that.
I think you sold me on Comixology just because of the Whedon comics for one thing, and then also there was another one that you mentioned that no,
Walking Dead, Saga.
No, those are good too. But there's one that I've been meaning to read for a while. So you've got Serenity and Buffy.
Cowl, Saga, Walking Dead.
Maybe it was just the Whedon comics, because it's got Serenity or Firefly and Buffy. That'll keep me busy for a while.
They don't have all of the Firefly comics. They have some of them.
That's okay. Do you know if you probably don't know? Do they have the Shepherd book storyline?
That I don't remember.
Oof.
That's
the one I really care about.
And that's the one of the ones I don't own. Yeah, like I said, no DC comics, which is a bummer, but I'm sure eventually in the next couple of years they will have their own, and I will subscribe.
DC, what is the deal? What is the deal? You're falling behind.
Which is funny because DC, in my opinion, DC is better writing in their books than Marvel. However, Marvel, usually it's more art driven.
I think
the art in those Marvel comics is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's great. I think that DC as a whole, and this is from somebody who's a comic novice, so you may scream and holler at this point, but I think DC as a whole is more cerebral than Marvel, which kind of shows to some extent even in their movies. You know, Marvel is very flashy and explosions and Michael Bay type things, whereas DC is more dark and a little bit, like I said, more cerebral. It makes you think more than Marvel does.
Yeah, I just think that they're kind of going the wrong direction.
Well,
lately.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the same thing with Star Trek now. You know, we could talk about that for when we will.
Oh, we will. But should you subscribe
to Comixology? I'm gonna go with yeah, because I'm going to. He sold me on Comixology.
I already did. So should you? Yeah.
Marvel Unlimited. If you're a Marvel person, yeah.
If you just can't get enough Marvel, do it.
Fair enough.
Subscribe to us. It's free.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play,
Corncast,
YouTube.
I don't know what that is, but we're gonna do it now.
I mean, I was trying to shrug, but I just did it with hands up here, so it looks like I'm doing weird gang singles. I'm doing gang singles. Sup? Drop a single.
This is where it ends.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay.
You can find us and contact us on Facebook at the Corncast.
The Corncast.
And you can tweet us on Twitter at the/corn. Oh, sorry. Nope. I always
try
screw it
again.
up. It's at corn/cast on Twitter. And now you can find us on YouTube as well. I believe.
That's right. Yeah, we got some Millennial Batman from the previous episode we just released. We're going to be doing some videos just of the regular podcast.
Just highlights.
Yeah,
basically.
and as well as some of the other segments we're doing. We're going to throw up there. So
Got some new segments coming up, and so the show will evolve. Keep listening.
And remember, Thursdays, Corncast, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play.
Sounds good.
Ooh, that didn't sound good.
I'm dying.